The failure of the Crips to recognize that as a people subject to racist oppression and attacks, the racists did not differentiate between Crips, Bloods, BGF, or non affiliated. The common blackness of our skin made us targets of the racists. Often, the misguided gang members believed they could maintain their thug rogue identity and be excluded from the racists and their violent attacks toward Africans. By continuing to address each other as niggas over the tier, disrespecting one another over the tiers, signaled identity, they were just niggas. A valid reason for so much of the hatred directed at the Crips inside prison. There were instances where the Crips openly negotiated alliances with the AB and MA, stipulating that they were not associated with the BGF or the African struggle in any way, form, or fashion. And if a conflict arose between the AB, MA, and the BGF, the Crips would remain neutral and not get involved, nor give support to the BGF, although the white and Mexican gang members supported each other in their wars against Africans. June 1984, at Old Folsom State Prison, the MA stabbed a member of the BGF named Utu, short for Toussaint. Fights broke out throughout the prison and it was placed on lockdown. And in the following days, MA claimed they wanted to negotiate what had taken place and resolve the matter to keep further incidents from taking place and keep the prison from going on extended lockdown status without visits. The brothers on the main line went for it, relaxed their guards, and when gathering for the meeting with the inmates, they were attacked. Several Africans and Mexicans were stabbed. One Mexican was shot and killed on the chapel steps trying to stab another. The prison was placed on total lockdown. In the aftermath of what was being called a race riot, prison administrators began systematically to lock up all known members and associates of the BGF, the MA, and placing them on lockdown in a newly opened emergency housing unit. This sweeping lockup order was meant to prevent retaliation from the African prisoners. On the main line, there remained non-affiliate Africans, Bloods, and Crips, while two former groups refusing to be duped by the MA out of their sheer racial pride planned and made moves against the MA. The Crips, on the other hand, after being told by the MA that their fight was against the BGF, only turned their backs and claimed they were not involved in what was clearly a racist attack on Africans. The racial wars began June 1982, and in the next 6 months, at the end of the year, there would be 48 stabbings and 2 deaths. That wasn't just BGF blood being spilled. There weren't that many members nor associates in the entire prison. Africans and Southern Mexicans were all targeted for the Crips to put forth the notion that the MAs were only targeting BGF. Is a clear indication of their ignorance and cowardice as they refuse to fight on behalf of their own race. It should be noted that not all the Crips followed the lead, as there were many who would ignore their leadership and carry major moves against those who were attacking brothers on the other side of the wall known as Bloods and Pyrus on Old Folsom's main line, who sold out their race by assisting the Mexicans with their supply lines of weapons, hiding knives from Mexicans during searches, and would actually point to the enemy who they thought were the strong brothers or potential leaders capable of attacking Southern Mexicans. Finally, in mid-1984, the main leader of the Crips, Delano Johnson, was forced off the main line by his own people. When he arrived in the chute, he was placed in protective custody, PC, for his own safety. After his removal, the Crips would join forces with their brothers as the Rage War raced on for another year until a truce was worked out amongst leaders from all factions in June 1985. Between 1982 and 1985, the Crips would undergo numerous radical changes while being locked up inside San Quentin and Old Folsom security housing units, where the tiers and exercise yards were racially segregated. All whites, Mexicans, and Africans went to their own exercise yards. The Crips and the Bloods, functioning with conscious-minded prisoners, will become politically conscious and aware of the racial reality confronting them as Africans. The more hardline gangbangers could no longer ignore that by merely claiming to be Crips did not exclude them from the racist attacks aimed at Africans. Also, some of the Crips were in the EHU for either attacking the Southern Mexicans or they had been victimized by them, an experience with no doubt directly led to the radical and political changes in the Crips. In 1985, the two new factions of the Crips would emerge. The Blue Notes, denoting the signature blue rag, an identifying marker of the Crips created by Big James Miller, BJ. The Consolidated Crips Organization was another organization, the CCOs, created by Freddie Mingo. Both of these newly designed organizations attempted to structure themselves along semi-revolutionary lines by incorporating political and military rules and guidelines extracted from the Constitution and the Code of Ethics from the Black Guerrilla family, whose members over the years had worked so closely with both the leaders of the Crips and Bloods housed inside the SHU throughout California prisons. The Bloods and Pirus in previous years had aligned themselves with the BGF and progressively minded African prisoners. In 1981, the creation of the UBN, the United Blood Nation. Stay tuned. Chapter 3 coming soon.